Hey guys, tonight we dive into the heart of Olympus, where the gods are starting to question everything they thought they knew. The sky is darkening, thunder rumbles in the distance, but it's no ordinary storm. It's a sign that things are about to change. Imagine this. The powerful gods we know are starting to doubt their own reign, and everything they've built is shaking. You probably won't survive this ... but hey, we'll see what happens. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Also, drop a comment letting me know where you're tuning in from and what time it is there. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into today's journey together. You wake up slowly. The air in the sacred halls of Olympus thick with an unsettling stillness. The clouds above seem heavier than usual, the very winds themselves whispering rumors, secrets that no god should speak aloud. For all the stories you've heard about the gods, how they are all-powerful, eternal today, they feel just a little smaller, a little more fragile. Even the towering pillars of Olympus, which you've seen in legends as symbols of strength, seem slightly askew, as though the foundations beneath them are being questioned. It's not the Olympus you've read about in stories. It's one that's slowly showing cracks in its structure. Zeus's reign, one that has endured for eons now, feels different. His once unquestioned command seems to falter just a bit. You can sense the shift in the atmosphere, the subtle tension that weighs down even the air you breathe. It's almost as if the gods have forgotten the old, unspoken rule: never question Zeus. But today, on this day, that rule is being tested. You can feel it as you step forward, your feet echoing in the silent halls, and hear the faintest whispers of dissent. There, at the edge of the hall, stands Athena, the goddess of wisdom, of reason. You've always known her to be cool-headed, calm and focused. Yet today, something about her posture, something in the set of her jaw suggests she's not just a quiet observer anymore. No, Athena isn't content with standing by as the world changes around her. Her eyes, always sharp and calculating, seem to be weighing something, perhaps the future of Olympus itself. You've watched Athena for ages, and in all that time, she's never been one to start a revolution. But this time, you can almost feel the tension building up in her, the hunger for change. She isn't here just to watch. She's here because she knows something needs to shift, and she's going to be the one to make it happen. Then you hear it, the deep, rumbling voice of Poseidon, god of the sea. His throne, beneath the depths of the oceans, is one of immense power. But there's a storm brewing within him, something that has been simmering for eons. Poseidon has never been one to speak lightly of his grievances. He is a god who understands the power of the tides, the way water can shift and shape the earth. Today, though, it's not the water he controls that's shifting. It's his loyalty. The bond that once existed between him and Zeus seems to be dissolving, slowly but surely. Poseidon's brow is furrowed as he stands at the edge of the great hall, looking out toward the distant seas, his eyes lost in the depths. You wonder what he's contemplating, what kind of rebellion he's already starting beneath the waves. The ocean is his domain, but it is also his prison. He's always been forced about as Zeus, but today, it seems Poseidon has had enough. And then, there's Hera, the goddess of marriage, of family, of fidelity. Or at least, that's what she represents to mortals. To gods? Well, Hera is known for her cunning, for her quiet, strategic mind that always seems to be 10 steps ahead of everyone else. Hera has long been the queen of Olympus, and while Zeus has always been her counterpart, their marriage is anything but harmonious. The whispers you hear about her suggest that Hera is no longer satisfied with her role as the dutiful wife. She may be the queen, but she's tired of being ignored, tired of being dismissed. Hera's role as the mother of gods, the very fabric of Olympus, has always made her a force to be reckoned with. But now she's more than just the queen of a fractured kingdom. Hera is a schemer, a planner, and it seems she's already laying the groundwork for a new order. As the gods begin to stir, you realize something profound is happening. For the first time in centuries, the gods are questioning the very system they've upheld for millennia. They're questioning Zeus himself. The divine order is not as sacred as it once was. What has long been unchallenged, Zeus's absolute authority, is beginning to unravel. The gods are waking up to the reality of their situation. They've lived in Zeus's shadow for eons, but now they're starting to wonder if the time has come to act. But what does rebellion against the king of the gods look like? What happens when gods who have never known fear finally experience it? What happens when those who have ruled from the heights of Olympus finally look down and see the cracks in their foundations? As you stand at the edge of Olympus, surrounded by gods who are waking up to their own power, you feel a mix of anticipation and fear. It's not just a matter of power anymore. No, this rebellion is something deeper, something rooted in the very nature of who these gods are. The lines between right and wrong blur as you begin to understand the complex web of relationships, of grievances, and of desires that have led to this point. The rebellion is coming. You can feel it in the air. And you wonder when it comes, will Zeus be able to withstand it? Will his reign come crashing down? Or will he manage to hold on, clutching to his throne with desperate, trembling hands? You stand there, feeling the weight of everything shifting around you. The rebellion is no longer just a quiet whisper, lingering in the corners of Olympus. It's coming, and you can almost taste the tension in the air, the tension that has been brewing for so long. It's as if all the gods have come to a quiet agreement. Things cannot stay as they are. The change is inevitable. But how exactly do the mighty gods of Olympus, who have long ruled with unchecked authority, go about overthrowing their king? As you make your way deeper into the heart of Olympus, you find yourself drifting closer to the gods who are beginning to realize the scale of their collective power. You see Athena once more, standing in the shadows of the great halls. It's a place of wisdom, but also of judgment. Her mind, sharp and analytical, is calculating the next move. She is not one for rash decisions, and it's clear that whatever comes next will be a plan carefully executed, crafted down to the last detail. You've heard stories of her wisdom, how she's always 2 steps ahead of everyone else. And today, that wisdom is about to be put to the test in ways none of the gods have experienced before. You remember something from your childhood about Athena, the way she could craft entire worlds with the tip of her spear. Well, now she's crafting something even more powerful, an idea that could fracture the very heart of Olympus itself. You see, Athena knows something that no one else has dared to acknowledge. To challenge Zeus, they must strike from within, not with brute force, but with a war of ideals, a battle that starts with wisdom and reason. This is how she plans to overthrow him. She's not interested in the loud, showy kind of rebellion that can easily be crushed. No, Athena is planning something far subtler, something that will force Zeus into a corner from which he cannot escape. In the distance, Poseidon is watching, his eyes locked on the sea, as though the water could tell him what to do. The oceans, vast and ever-changing, reflect his inner turmoil. He's long been the god of the sea, but it's no secret that his domain has become a mere afterthought in the eyes of Zeus. The world has changed, and so too has Poseidon. He used to rule the seas with absolute power, but now Poseidon feels the tides are shifting against him. He's been overshadowed not just by Zeus, but by the rise of Athena's wisdom, by the politics of the gods. His kingdom is vast, and yet it has been reduced to a fraction of what it once was. The power that Poseidon once wielded with ease has been diluted over time. And now it feels like the ocean is betraying him. For Poseidon, it's not just a matter of power, it's personal. Zeus has always been his brother, and yet that bond has frayed with time. Poseidon is not the simple brute people think him to be. He's been forced to retreat into the shadows, watching from afar as others claim the glory, the influence, the spotlight. He doesn't just want to reclaim his place at the table, he wants to rewrite the narrative. Poseidon knows that if he's to rise again, it will be through rebellion. And the timing has never been better. But Hera is the one who truly understands the art of manipulation. She knows that Zeus has underestimated her. She spent eons playing the dutiful wife, the queen of Olympus, but her mind has always been more complex than that. Hera isn't just angry at Zeus. She's been biding her time, waiting for the right moment to pull the strings. She's the master of alliances, and she knows that power lies not in brute strength, but in the manipulation of those around her. And while the rebellion is unfolding around her, Hera is already thinking steps ahead. She's playing a different kind of game, a game that will slowly, quietly, unravel the very foundation of Zeus's reign. You follow Hera as she moves through Olympus, always with grace, always with the elegance of a queen who knows exactly how to get what she wants. She's meeting with gods and goddesses in secret, offering promises of new power, new alliances. Hera's whisper is more powerful than any thunderbolt Zeus could ever conjure. In her eyes there's a fire, a quiet rage that burns with the heat of 1,000 storms. She's done being Zeus's pawn, done being the queen who watches her husband play games with the lives of mortals and immortals alike. She's ready to dethrone him, but not in the way you'd expect. No, Hera knows that to bring down Zeus, she must make him irrelevant. She must make the very idea of Zeus as king laughable. But there's more happening than just a quiet conspiracy. The very land of Olympus feels as though it's bracing for something monumental. You feel the pulse beneath your feet, as though the earth itself is preparing for a cataclysmic event. There's no going back. The rebellion isn't just an idea anymore. It's a storm-gathering force, a force that will eventually collide with Zeus's arrogance, his pride, and his inability to see the cracks forming around him. You catch glimpses of the gods in the distance, each one retreating into their thoughts, their fears, their ambitions. Some look for alliances, others brood in isolation. It's all coming to a head. The gods are ready. The time has come for Olympus to change, and Zeus, king of the gods, is about to face the consequences of his rule. The rebellion is inevitable, but its outcome is not. What will happen when the gods once loyal to Zeus finally rise up? Will the rebellion succeed, or will Zeus hold on to his throne through sheer force? There's only one way to find out, and the gods are preparing to make their move. You stand amidst the gods, each one retreating to their corners of Olympus, their thoughts thick with plans, ambitions, and perhaps the seeds of regret. It's as if the entire kingdom, the very mountain itself, is holding its breath, waiting for the storm to arrive. The gods, once a unified force under Zeus, are now splintering into factions. Athena's quiet machinations, Poseidon's simmering resentment, Hera's silent plotting, they are all threads weaving a larger, more complex tapestry. And you, a mere observer in this divine drama, begin to realize how deeply their lives have intertwined with Olympus itself. Athena, the goddess of wisdom, is perhaps the most poised of them all, but even she knows that in this rebellion, wisdom alone won't be enough. The ancient scriptures of Olympus speak of gods who rose and fell not by might, but by ideas, by changing the very structure of reality itself. It's not just about defeating Zeus with strength. It's about defeating him with a philosophy, a new order, one that speaks to the hearts of the gods. Athena's brilliance is undeniable. She is the mind behind the rebellion. Yet, she is also the first to understand that her intellectual power must be wielded with care, lest it crumble under the weight of its own complexity. You watch Athena as she stands, gazing into the distance. Her fingers brush over her helmet, a symbol of the warrior within her. Athena is not just the goddess of wisdom and strategy, she is a fighter, a protector. Her wisdom isn't just a passive thing. It's something that stirs others to action, but action must be calculated. Athena will not launch an outright assault on Zeus, not yet, anyway. No, she's going to change the battlefield. And she's going to do it by shifting the allegiances of those around her. You catch a glimpse of Poseidon, standing at the edge of the ocean. His eyes are locked on the waves, the tides crashing relentlessly against the shore. For Poseidon, the sea has always been both a weapon and a refuge, a vast domain that he controls with ease. But now there is an undercurrent to his every movement, an undertow of fury that threatens to sweep everything away. Poseidon has been sidelined by Zeus for too long. His brother's rule has forced him into a passive role, relegating him to the edges of Olympus and, in some ways, the edges of the divine realm itself. Poseidon's relationship with Zeus has always been complicated. Brothers by birth, gods by nature, but each with his own distinct realm and influence. While Zeus claimed the skies and thunder, Poseidon ruled the seas. Together, they were supposed to be an unstoppable force. But Zeus's arrogance and need for control have always overshadowed Poseidon's vast, unpredictable power. Poseidon, in his silent rage, has come to a conclusion. His time has come. The oceans are rising, and he too will rise with them. But unlike Athena, Poseidon is a god of action. His rebellion will not be subtle. It will be a flood, a force of nature that cannot be contained. You begin to sense a pattern emerging. Athena's rebellion is calculated, thoughtful, and intellectual. Poseidon's is primal, instinctual, and raw. Together, they are forming a force that is both cerebral and chaotic. But it is Hera who understands how to make the gods' collective anger work to her advantage. Hera, the queen of Olympus, has always known how to manipulate the gods. As the wife of Zeus, she has lived in his shadow, but she is not the meek and passive figure that many believe her to be. Hera has spent countless millennia crafting her position, building alliances with other gods and goddesses, weaving webs of influence that are invisible to those who are too focused on the obvious. Hera has always known the true power of silence, how to speak through whispers, how to control without ever showing her hand. She's watched as the other gods rose and fell, learning from each of them, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Her plan is simple, yet brilliant. Instead of challenging Zeus head-on, Hera plans to erode his support slowly, bit by bit. She has already begun making secret alliances with lesser gods who feel overlooked, underappreciated, and ultimately expendable. Hera knows that power isn't always about controlling the grandest forces. Sometimes it's about controlling the ones who seem insignificant, the ones who no one notices. The more gods she brings into her fold, the more Zeus's support base shrinks. It's a slow burn, but it's effective. Hera has learned that in Olympus, it's not just about strength, it's about making the others believe that they have a stake in the outcome. And in doing so, she's already won half the battle. But Hera's manipulation goes even deeper. She knows that Zeus, for all his strength, is not a god of subtlety. He's loud, he's bold, and he's often blinded by his own arrogance. Hera, on the other hand, can weave a far more intricate web. She's patient. She's methodical. And as she moves through Olympus, meeting with gods in secret, planting ideas in their minds, you begin to see her influence spread like wildfire. There is a growing sense that the gods no longer trust Zeus, that the foundation he's built his reign upon is cracked. And Hera knows that once that trust is shattered, Zeus's reign will crumble faster than the walls of Olympus itself. As you walk through the halls of Olympus, you can feel the shift in the air. The gods are waking up one by one to the realization that they are no longer bound to Zeus's will. They've been given the tools of rebellion by those who understand the nature of power. Athena, Poseidon, Hera, they are working together, though not in the way Zeus might think. They don't need to fight him with brute force. They only need to make him believe that his grip on Olympus is slipping. And once Zeus feels that, once he begins to doubt himself, it will be over. The gods are united in their dissent, but they are still divided in their methods. Athena will use wisdom. Poseidon will use strength. Hera will use manipulation. Each approach is different, but each is equally dangerous. You can feel the tension rising as the gods move toward their inevitable confrontation. And as you watch, you begin to realize something that fills you with both awe and terror. The rebellion is not just a test of strength. It's a test of the gods' very identities. What happens when those who have been defined by their roles for eons suddenly find themselves questioning everything they've ever known? The days that follow feel like the slow turning of the heavens themselves, a cosmic clock winding its way toward something you can't quite name yet. The gods, each one wrapped in their own complicated emotions and schemes, seem to move with purpose now. There's a shift in the air, a shift that would have gone unnoticed before, but now it's impossible to ignore. The rebellion is no longer a mere conspiracy in the shadows. It is out in the open, though still veiled in whispers and calculated actions. The gods are restless, and their king Zeus is about to face a reckoning. You notice something strange the next time you walk through Olympus. There's a certain heaviness in the atmosphere, a tension that's almost palpable. It's as though the very earth beneath your feet has started to rumble, though there's no obvious cause. You can't help but think that it's the pulse of something much larger than just a rebellion. It's the pulse of a kingdom on the brink of collapse. Athena is still at the center of it all. Her every movement is deliberate, her thoughts unyielding. She's always been a figure of calculated intelligence, but now, in the heat of this struggle, you can see something more in her eyes. There's a quiet determination there, but also an edge of something darker. Athena has always believed that wisdom was the key to everything, every battle, every victory, every triumph. And perhaps she is right. But there's something else she knows now, something that even she has been reluctant to admit. Sometimes, wisdom isn't enough. She stands alone one evening, gazing out over the vast plains of Olympus. The sun sets behind her, casting a golden glow over the marble columns and ancient statues. She is, for the first time in what feels like forever, uncertain. Athena has always prided herself on knowing the answer to every question, on having a plan for everything. But now she finds herself facing a world where even her wisdom might not be enough. The rebellion is growing. Her words are stirring gods to action, but not all gods are as receptive to her teachings as she would hope. Poseidon, on the other hand, is a god of instinct and action. He's always been more comfortable with the violence of the sea than with the subtlety of Athena's plans. Poseidon's rebellion is raw, primal, and it's starting to ripple through Olympus like a wave crashing against the shore. It's not just about power for him. It's about reclaiming what he's lost, his honor, his respect, and his place in the divine hierarchy. Poseidon has always been a force of nature, but now he's become something else entirely. He's become a storm, and you can feel it growing. His influence is expanding, and the tension in the air thickens every time he enters a room. The sea, his domain, calls to him, and he answers with fury. Hera, the queen of Olympus, is working in the shadows. Her methods are subtle, her alliances quiet, but no less effective. You begin to understand something that you hadn't before. Hera is playing a long game. She's not looking for a quick, violent victory like Poseidon or a cerebral battle like Athena. Hera's rebellion is something that takes time, something that wears away at Zeus's foundation in such a way that he won't even see it coming until it's too late. She's already begun to plant the seeds of doubt in the minds of the lesser gods, those who have long been overlooked or underestimated. Hera knows the power of perception. She's making it clear that Zeus's reign is no longer unquestionable, and with every whispered promise, every subtle manipulation, she's bringing the gods one step closer to overthrowing their king. You begin to realize just how deeply the gods are entwined with their domains. Athena's wisdom shapes the world of thought. Poseidon's power governs the oceans, the tides, and the very force of nature. Hera's influence is subtle, but immense, flowing through the relationships between gods and mortals alike. And then there's Zeus, whose thunderbolts crack through the sky, but whose control over Olympus has started to slip away. It's a delicate balance that has held for eons, and now that balance is about to be broken. But what happens when the balance shifts? What happens when the gods, once content with their places in the hierarchy, realize that they no longer have to answer to Zeus? Athena, Poseidon, and Hera are not the only ones beginning to question their roles. There are other gods, lesser gods, forgotten gods, who are beginning to rise up as well. You can sense it in the air, the way Olympus is beginning to hum with energy, with potential. The rebellion isn't just a clash between a few gods, it's a transformation of Olympus itself. The very nature of what it means to be a god is changing, and none of them are sure how far that transformation will go. Zeus is still at the center of it all, though his presence is no longer as imposing as it once was. He sits on his throne, but you can see the uncertainty in his eyes, a flicker of doubt that wasn't there before. He's always ruled with an iron fist, but the storm is rising, and it's not one he can easily command. For the first time, Zeus feels the weight of his own mortality, not in the sense that he can die, but in the sense that his reign, his power, is no longer absolute. He's no longer the undisputed king of the gods. The rebellion is growing, and Zeus knows it. The gods are no longer his subjects, they are his equals, and soon, they may be his superiors. But before he can fully grasp the extent of the change happening around him, the rebellion will have already reached a boiling point. Athena's wisdom, Poseidon's rage, and Hera's manipulation will come together in a way that no one expected. And when they do, Olympus will change forever. The rebellion is no longer a quiet whisper in the corners of Olympus, it's a rising storm, gaining strength with every passing day. The gods, once content with their roles, have come to realize that their futures are no longer tied to Zeus. The foundation of Olympus is shaking, and with every crack, it becomes clearer that the old order is slipping away. It's almost as if you can feel the very mountain tremble beneath your feet, the pulse of the gods' collective unrest reverberating in the air. As the days pass, you notice the shift growing more apparent. Athena, ever the strategist, has begun to rally her allies more openly. You've seen her speak in quiet, deliberate tones to those who were once too timid to oppose Zeus. But now, there's no hiding it, their eyes burn with a quiet determination. The seed that Athena planted long ago has grown, and it's no longer a mere whisper of rebellion. It's a fully formed plan. Athena isn't just advising the gods who follow her, she's leading them. And in that leadership, she's beginning to show a side of herself that is not just wise but dangerously calculating. Her plan is brilliant, as expected. Athena has managed to get the gods to see the cracks in Zeus's reign without directly confronting him. She hasn't attacked Zeus head-on, but she's created an environment where his authority is no longer unquestioned. Athena has used her intellect to convince the gods that Zeus is a tyrant, an ineffective ruler who no longer serves the greater good of Olympus. It's subtle but effective. With each passing day, more and more gods begin to believe it. But Athena's power isn't just in her wisdom. It's in her ability to inspire others to act. You see it in the lesser gods who have always been overlooked, ignored, and relegated to the sidelines of Olympus. These gods, long forgotten by Zeus, now find themselves caught up in Athena's vision. They see in her not just a path to rebellion, but a chance to finally have a say in the future of Olympus. Athena's rebellion is not just for the elite gods, it's for all the gods. And this, perhaps more than anything, is what makes her so dangerous. Poseidon, too, is beginning to make his move. His storm, once a quiet rumble in the distance, is now a tempest that can no longer be ignored. Poseidon, the god of the oceans, has always been a force to be reckoned with, but his rage has been building for so long that it's now a tidal wave, crashing against the shores of Olympus. His power is raw, primal, and it's starting to infect everything around him. He no longer cares about subtlety or diplomacy. Poseidon's rebellion is one of fury, one of rage that has been smoldering beneath the surface for far too long. You can feel the tension in the air every time Poseidon enters a room. His presence is overwhelming, as if the sea itself is closing in. The gods who once followed Zeus unquestioningly now look at Poseidon with a mixture of fear and awe. Poseidon's anger is contagious, and with each passing day, his influence grows. He is no longer content with being overlooked. He wants to reclaim what's his. He wants the respect and power that Zeus has denied him for so long. And he's willing to destroy anyone who stands in his way. But it is Hera who remains the most dangerous player in this divine chess match. Hera, the queen of Olympus, has long been a master of manipulation, and now she's playing her cards with a deft hand. While Athena works to convince the gods with logic and reason, and Poseidon wields the power of the oceans, Hera has begun to build alliances in the shadows. She knows that the key to overthrowing Zeus lies not in brute force, but in undermining his support from within. Hera's methods are subtle, but they are no less effective. She's planted seeds of doubt in the minds of those who have always supported Zeus. She's made promises to the gods who feel overlooked, underappreciated, and neglected. And those promises have begun to take root. Hera is crafting a new order, one where Zeus's reign is no longer seen as the inevitable truth, but as something that can be undone. She's slowly making Zeus irrelevant, and with every passing day, he feels it. You can see the effect Hera's manipulation has on the gods. They begin to question their loyalty to Zeus, to wonder if they have been foolish to follow him for so long. Hera's influence is like a slow poison, working its way into the hearts and minds of those around her. By the time Zeus realizes what's happening, it will be too late. Hera has already created a new order, one where Zeus is no longer the center of power. As the rebellion gains momentum, Zeus begins to feel the weight of his own isolation. He no longer holds the same sway over Olympus. His thunderbolts crack through the skies, but they no longer inspire fear, they inspire resentment. The gods no longer see Zeus as the god who rules over all of them. Instead, they see him as a relic of the past, a god who has overstayed his welcome. It's not just the power of Athena, Poseidon, and Hera that threatens Zeus. It's the shift in the gods' perception of him. And this shift is something that Zeus cannot fight with thunder or lightning. The rebellion is no longer just a matter of power, it's a matter of perception. Zeus, once the undisputed ruler of Olympus, is now a king whose power is slipping away, piece by piece. And as the gods rally around Athena, Poseidon, and Hera, it becomes clear that Zeus's reign is nearing its end. The gods are no longer following him out of loyalty, they are following him out of fear, and that fear is beginning to fade. The rebellion, once a spark in the shadows, is now a fire that threatens to consume Olympus. And you, standing at the center of it all, begin to understand the true nature of this rebellion. It's not just about dethroning Zeus, it's about redefining what it means to be a god. The rebellion is about shaking off the chains of tradition and forging a new path for Olympus. It's about the gods realizing that they are not bound to Zeus's will, that they can shape their own destinies, their own futures. The rebellion is about freedom. But freedom, as you know, comes at a cost. And that cost will be paid in full when Zeus finally understands that his reign is over. The gods are moving, and Olympus is alive with anticipation. You can almost feel the ground tremble beneath your feet, as if the very mountain is bracing for the storm that is about to unfold. The rebellion, which began as a murmur, has grown into a roar that threatens to drown out the thunder of Zeus. The gods no longer whisper in the shadows. They speak openly, confidently, about what is to come. The shift in Olympus is undeniable. Zeus's power is waning, and those who once feared his wrath now see an opportunity for change. Athena stands at the heart of it all, unwavering and resolute. Her plan, which once seemed like a distant dream, is now within reach. You can see it in her eyes, the quiet satisfaction of someone who has spent eons weaving the perfect strategy, knowing that it was only a matter of time before everything fell into place. Athena has always understood the power of ideas, the strength of logic and reason. But what she's come to understand now is that the rebellion isn't just about overthrowing Zeus. It's about creating a new world order, one in which the gods are no longer bound by the old hierarchies. Athena's rebellion is not one of violence. She doesn't need to raise her sword or call upon the power of her warriors. No, her strength lies in her ability to make others see the truth, that the world Zeus created is no longer sustainable. The gods have changed, and so too must Olympus. Athena's rebellion is an intellectual revolution, one that challenges the very foundation of the gods' existence. The old ways, the ones Zeus put in place, no longer serve the gods. They are a relic of the past, and it's time for something new. Poseidon, too, is feeling the winds of change. He has always been a god of action, of raw power, but even he knows that strength alone won't be enough to bring down Zeus. Poseidon's rebellion is not just about reclaiming his throne, it's about restoring balance to Olympus. For too long, Zeus has dominated the heavens and the earth, leaving Poseidon's oceans to be forgotten. But the sea is Poseidon's domain, and it has always been a force of nature that cannot be tamed. As the rebellion grows, Poseidon begins to realize that the oceans can serve as a metaphor for what he wants to accomplish. The tides of Olympus are shifting, and Poseidon intends to be the one who steers them. You watch Poseidon, his massive form towering above the other gods, his eyes fierce with determination. The storms he once commanded seem to have calmed, replaced by a quiet intensity. Poseidon is no longer simply reacting to Zeus's rule, he is taking control of his destiny. He may not have the intellect of Athena, but his power is undeniable. And it's this power, combined with Athena's wisdom and Hera's subtle manipulations, that will bring Zeus to his knees. And then there is Hera, the queen of Olympus, the goddess who has spent eons biding her time, quietly plotting her move. While Athena works with ideas and Poseidon wields the strength of the sea, Hera's power lies in her ability to manipulate and control. Hera understands that the true nature of power isn't always in strength, it's in influence. Hera has spent decades building relationships, forming alliances with gods who are dissatisfied with their positions, gods who long for more than just the scraps Zeus has thrown them. Hera knows that to overthrow Zeus, she doesn't need to fight him directly. She simply needs to make him irrelevant. The rebellion is in full swing now, and Zeus feels the weight of it more with each passing moment. He can no longer ignore the shifting tides of Olympus. The gods are no longer following him out of respect, they're following him out of obligation. And even that, Zeus knows, is no longer enough. The whispers have turned into open conversations, and Zeus is no longer the unquestioned ruler of Olympus. He is no longer the god who commands the heavens. He is simply a god who is losing control. You feel it in the air, Zeus's desperation. His once impregnable throne now seems fragile, like a towering structure built on sand. Zeus has always been able to crush his enemies with the power of his lightning, to silence any who dared challenge him. But this time, the rebellion is different. It's not about brute force. It's about the gods understanding that they no longer need Zeus to define who they are. They are gods in their own right, and they have the power to reshape Olympus. The rebellion has already begun to work its magic, and the gods are starting to see a future beyond Zeus's reign. You see Zeus standing at the edge of his throne room, looking down over Olympus with a sense of dread you've never seen in him before. He has always been the king, the ruler, the one who held the power. But now, as the gods rally behind Athena, Poseidon, and Hera, Zeus's grip on Olympus grows weaker. He knows it. You can see it in his eyes, the flicker of fear. For the first time in his eternal life, Zeus is beginning to understand what it means to be vulnerable. But vulnerability is a dangerous thing, and Zeus isn't one to go down without a fight. As the rebellion grows, he begins to make his move. The thunder begins to rumble once more, and Zeus raises his mighty hand to strike. But this time, it's not enough. The gods who once feared him no longer do. Athena, Poseidon, and Hera have created a force that Zeus cannot defeat with a mere flash of lightning. The rebellion is no longer about the gods seeking power, it's about the gods reclaiming their destiny. Zeus's reign is over, and the gods are preparing to reshape Olympus. What comes next is unknown, but one thing is certain: the gods of Olympus will never be the same again. The storm that has been brewing for so long finally arrives. It's not the storm Zeus is accustomed to, a thunderous outburst of rage that splits the sky. No, this storm is more insidious, creeping into the very foundations of Olympus like a slow-moving tide. It's a storm of ideas, of rebellion, of gods who have decided they are no longer willing to live in the shadow of one man's reign. The winds of change blow stronger now, and even mighty Zeus can feel it. As the gods rally behind Athena, Poseidon, and Hera, you begin to see how far-reaching their influence has become. They have created a movement, a force that cannot be ignored. The gods who once stood behind Zeus, loyal to the very end, are now questioning their allegiance. They look around, and for the first time, they realize that there is something more to Olympus than the singular authority of Zeus. The rebellion has not just planted seeds of doubt, it has spread like wildfire, transforming Olympus from a kingdom ruled by a single god into a realm where all gods have a say, where no one is safe from the winds of change. You see Athena at the heart of it all, unwavering in her purpose. She has worked tirelessly to make the gods see what Zeus has failed to understand: that power is not about domination, it's about balance, unity, and mutual respect. Athena's wisdom has shown them that Zeus's rule has become stifling, that Olympus can no longer thrive under the weight of his unchecked authority. The gods are waking up to the reality that they are not bound to Zeus, they are bound to each other. And it is this unity that will carry them forward. Poseidon, too, is emboldened by the rebellion. His once furrowed brow has loosened, his eyes brighter with the fire of defiance. He no longer stands in the shadow of Zeus, he stands beside the gods, commanding their respect. The ocean, once a metaphor for his power, is now a symbol of his freedom. Poseidon has fought for so long to be seen, to be heard, and now that moment has arrived. His rebellion is not just a battle for control, it's a battle for his own identity. He has been overlooked for far too long, but now he is taking his place at the table of Olympus. Hera, the master manipulator, remains the quiet force behind it all. Her power lies not in thunder or intellect, but in subtlety. She has woven web of alliances and promises, manipulating the gods into believing that their best interests lie with her, with the new order she is creating. Hera's rebellion is not one of immediate victory. It is a slow, deliberate march towards Zeus's downfall. She understands that the key to winning is not in overwhelming force, but in making Zeus irrelevant. And as her influence spreads, it becomes clear that Hera is winning the hearts and minds of the gods. Zeus, meanwhile, is beginning to lose his grip on Olympus. The thunderous king who once ruled with absolute certainty now walks through his halls with a sense of dread. His enemies have not been defeated by lightning. They have been defeated by ideas, by unity, by the belief that there is more to Olympus than his dominance. Zeus can no longer ignore the growing dissent, the whispers that have turned into open defiance. The gods have seen the cracks in his reign, and they have chosen to act. And now, as Zeus looks upon the very throne he has occupied For millennia, he realizes that it is slipping away from him. For the first time in his long life, Zeus feels fear. It's a strange, foreign sensation, a vulnerability he has never known. He has always been the god who commanded the skies, the god whose wrath could bring entire cities to their knees. But now, that power is meaningless. The gods are no longer afraid of him. They are not afraid of his thunder, not afraid of his lightning. What they fear now is what he represents, a dying order that no longer serves them. As Zeus retreats to his throne, his mind racing, he begins to realize the full extent of what has happened. The gods, once his subjects, have become his equals. The rebellion is no longer just a threat, it is the beginning of a new world order, and Zeus knows that he cannot stop it. No matter how much power he wields, no matter how many thunderbolts he calls upon, the gods have made their decision. They will no longer answer to him. You stand among them, watching as the gods move to their new positions. Athena's calm, measured leadership has secured her place as the voice of reason, the guiding force of Olympus's new future. Poseidon, no longer a shadow, now stands proudly by her side, his presence commanding respect. Hera, the queen of manipulation, weaves her alliances with quiet grace, ensuring that she will be a key player in whatever comes next. The gods have chosen their leaders, and Zeus is no longer one of them. The rebellion is over, but the future of Olympus is just beginning. It's a new world, one where the gods are no longer ruled by fear or domination. They are free to shape their own destinies, to carve out their own futures. Zeus may have fallen, but in his place, something far more powerful has arisen: unity, respect, and the understanding that the gods, in all their power, are not above one another. They are equal, and it is in their unity that they will thrive. As you watch the gods stand together, the weight of the rebellion slowly lifting, you realize that this is the beginning of something new. The gods of Olympus have been changed forever, and with them, the very fabric of the universe itself. They will no longer answer to one man, they will answer to each other. And in this new world, anything is possible. The air in Olympus is thick with anticipation as the dust of the rebellion begins to settle. The gods, once divided under the iron grip of Zeus, now stand united. The new order is taking shape, and while the scars of the old regime are still fresh, a sense of calm begins to wash over the divine realm. The gods, once lost in their personal struggles for power and dominance, now understand something greater than themselves, their collective strength. This rebellion, the one that threatened to tear Olympus apart, has instead brought them closer. For the first time in centuries, Olympus is beginning to feel like a place of true unity. Athena, always calm and composed, stands at the forefront of this new world. The weight of the rebellion's success rests on her shoulders, but she carries it with the grace of someone who knows that this is the beginning of something much larger than just the fall of Zeus. Athena's victory isn't just in dethroning a king, it's in showing the gods that their unity is more powerful than any single god's reign. She speaks to the gods with a quiet authority, her voice steady and reassuring as she lays out the foundations of Olympus's new order. It's not about individual power anymore, it's about collaboration, about forging a path where all gods are seen and heard. Poseidon, standing by her side, is a stark contrast to the calm, measured nature of Athena. His presence, once a brooding storm, is now tempered by the sense of fulfillment that comes from finally reclaiming what was his. The ocean, his domain, is not a place of anger anymore, but a vast, powerful force that he now commands with newfound purpose. Poseidon, too, understands the significance of this new order. He has fought for so long to be recognized, to be more than just Zeus's lesser brother, and now, that fight has paid off. He stands as an equal among the gods, no longer defined by his relationship with Zeus, but by his own power and authority. Hera, too, has come into her own. The queen of Olympus, once the embodiment of manipulation and subtle power, is now a key player in this new world. her ability to weave alliances, her talent for seeing the bigger picture has made her indispensable in the reshaping of Olympus. While others may have focused on brute strength or intellectual strategy, Hera has shown the gods that influence, patience, and foresight are just as important. She has secured her place as a leader in this new Olympus, but it is not just her ambition that drives her. It is her desire to ensure that the gods never again fall into the trap of blind loyalty to a single ruler. Hera is no longer just a queen. She is the architect of a new era. As the gods begin to adjust to this new reality, you sense a shift in their dynamics. The unity that has emerged is fragile, but it's something they have never had before. The gods have been forced to reckon with their own flaws, their own weaknesses, and now, together, they have created something more powerful than any individual god could ever hope to achieve. The lesson they've learned is profound. No one is invincible. Not even Zeus. The gods have finally realized that their power lies in their unity, in their collective will, and in their ability to see each other as equals. But there are still challenges ahead. The rebellion may have ended, but the scars it has left behind will not fade easily. The gods must now rebuild Olympus from the ground up. They must learn to work together, to find common ground, and to create a new order where each god has a has a voice, where their power is shared, and where no one rules above the others. It's a daunting task, and while the gods may stand united for now, they must still confront their own egos, their own histories, and their own personal desires. As you stand among them, watching the gods work together to reshape their world, you realize that this new era of Olympus is not without its risks. The gods have tasted power, tasted freedom, and now they must find a way to wield that power responsibly. For if they are to succeed in this new order, they must remember the lessons of their rebellion. They must never forget that the strength of Olympus lies not in one god's reign, but in the collective will of all the gods. Zeus may have fallen, but the question remains, what will the gods do with their newfound power? Will they continue to build a world based on equality and mutual respect? Or will old grudges, old ambitions, begin to resurface, threatening to tear apart the fragile unity they've worked so hard to create? You watch as the gods speak, debate, and make decisions. There's a sense of urgency now, a sense that they know they are at a crossroads. The future of Olympus depends on the choices they make today. And as you observe, you realize that the gods' journey is far from over. The rebellion may have been won, but the true test lies ahead. The question is no longer whether Zeus will return to power, it's whether the gods, having tasted the power of unity, can hold on to it and build a new future. A future where no god is above another, where they work together, not as rivals, but as equals. The rebellion may have reshaped Olympus, but the true transformation is just beginning. As the gods continue to speak, the air shifts once more. This time filled with the possibility of what's to come. Olympus is changing, evolving, and you, standing at the center of it all, know that you are witnessing the birth of a new era. What that era holds, only time will tell. As the new dawn breaks over Olympus, you can feel the air change again. The rebellion that once seemed like a distant threat, something unimaginable, has now become a reality. The gods have dismantled the old order, and in its place, they are building something new. But the foundation of this new Olympus is still fragile, like a grand structure that has just been raised but still lacks the weight of time to solidify its strength. There is tension in the air, but it's different now. The gods are not at war with one another. Instead, they are at war with themselves. The weight of responsibility that comes with this newfound power is something they must all contend with. Athena remains the voice of reason, the one who has steered the rebellion towards a conclusion that no one had foreseen. She has always been the embodiment of wisdom and strategy, but now you see her in a new light. Athena's leadership is no longer just about the clarity of her mind. It is about the weight of her decisions, the depth of the responsibility she carries. Every word she speaks now seems to carry the weight of Olympus itself. The gods who once sought her guidance in times of war now look to her to guide them through the complex, sometimes perilous waters of this new era. Yet, despite Athena's calm demeanor, there is a hint of something more in her gaze. A flicker of doubt that has begun to take root, not in her mind, but in her heart. Athena is a warrior, a tactician, but she is also a goddess who understands the cost of change. She has seen what it takes to bring a kingdom to its knees, and now she understands just how fragile this new world truly is. Her wisdom has led the gods to this point, but she knows that it may not be enough to see them through the trials ahead. The gods must change not just in their actions, but in their hearts. Poseidon, too, feels the weight of what's to come. The god of the seas, the once rebellious brother, now stands as an equal among the gods. But his rebellion was always one of passion, of emotion. He sought freedom from Zeus's reign, and now that it's been achieved, he is left with a quiet uncertainty. Poseidon has never been a god of subtlety. He is a force of nature, raw and untamed. And yet, he now finds himself in a world that demands diplomacy, balance, and unity. Poseidon is unsure of his place in this new world. He knows his power, his strength, but he is not sure how to wield it in a way that will contribute to the collective good of Olympus. His once primal need for change has been replaced by a sense of responsibility, a sense that the gods, including himself, must act with restraint. Hera, the master manipulator, has watched the gods rise up against Zeus, but now she faces her own challenge: how to make this new Olympus her own. Hera's power lies in the art of subtlety, in weaving webs of influence that few can see. But she now finds herself in a position where the gods' unity is their greatest strength, and manipulation no longer has the same place it once did. Hera must decide whether she will adapt to this new order, where power is shared equally, or whether she will attempt to reclaim the throne through quieter means. In a world where no god holds absolute control, Hera's power is now defined by her ability to navigate the shifting tides of Olympus, to position herself as a leader among equals. And then there's Zeus, the fallen king. For the first time in eons, Zeus is not the center of Olympus. He is no longer the god who commands the heavens, the god who struck fear into the hearts of gods and mortals alike. His lightning still crackles in the skies, but it no longer holds the same weight. It's as if the storm has lost its fury. Zeus watches from the fringes now, a god in exile in his own domain. There is no longer any pretense of his unchallenged rule. His power has been stripped, not by force, but by the gods' collective will. Zeus is a reminder of what happens when a god loses touch with the balance of Olympus, when they let pride and arrogance blind them to the needs of those they rule. Zeus's fall was inevitable, but it was not a fall into oblivion. He still remains a god, albeit a diminished one, a god without the authority he once wielded. The gods have won, but the real challenge begins now. Olympus is a fractured place, a kingdom rebuilt, but not yet stable. The rebellion has torn down the old, but the new must now rise. Athena's wisdom, Poseidon's strength, Hera's influence, they are all vital in this new world. But the gods know that unity cannot be forced, it must be nurtured. And this, perhaps, is the greatest challenge of all. As the gods gather, there's no grand ceremony to mark the end of the rebellion. There's no shouting, no fanfare. Instead, there's a quiet recognition that their work has just begun. The gods must learn to live in this new world, one where no god is above another, where power is shared, and where decisions are made collectively. They must learn to rule not with fear, but with understanding. They must learn to govern not as individuals, but as a council of equals. And as they stand together, you can see the weight of this realization on their faces. They know the road ahead will be difficult. that the fragile unity they have achieved is far from secure. The gods of Olympus, once rulers of all they surveyed, now stand at the edge of a new world. The rebellion has given them freedom, but that freedom has come with a cost. They are no longer the same gods they were before. They are different now, shaped by the trials they have endured and the unity they have forged. And in this new world, their power lies not in their individual might, but in their ability to work together, to understand one another, and to build a new Olympus from the ground up. The question remains, will the gods be able to hold on to the unity they have fought for? Or will old habits, old grudges, and old desires tear them apart? Only time will tell. The winds of Olympus continue to change, each gust carrying with it the hopes and uncertainties of the gods, who now find themselves in uncharted territory. The old order has been shattered, and the gods, once united in their subservience to Zeus, now stand divided in their new roles. The throne of Olympus is no longer a singular seat of power, but a shared responsibility, a collective governance of the divine. But with this shift comes a deeper challenge. Can the gods, in all their power and pride, truly learn to work together? Can they leave behind their old ways, their old rivalries, and create something new? Athena, the goddess of wisdom, remains the linchpin in this new order. Her intellect and strategy have guided the rebellion, but now she faces a different kind of challenge. Wisdom, after all, is not just about knowing the right answer. It's about navigating the space between answers, between choices, when every option feels uncertain. Athena stands as the leader of this new council, but she knows that her strength lies not in her ability to make decisions alone, but in her capacity to listen, to learn from the gods around her, and to weave together their differing perspectives into a unified vision. The gods no longer look to her solely for answers. They look to her for leadership, for the ability to inspire a new way of thinking, of governing. But even Athena, with all her wisdom, cannot escape the weight of doubt that occasionally settles in her heart. She has helped lead the gods to victory, but now, as she stands at the helm of Olympus's transformation, she wonders if this new order will hold. The gods are not known for their ability to work together, after all. They have always been defined by their individual domains, by their immense power and pride. Can they truly overcome their centuries of division, their personal grievances, and create a lasting peace? Or will they fall into the same patterns, the same rivalries that led to the downfall of Zeus in the first place? Poseidon, the god of the sea, feels this uncertainty deeply. His rebellion was born of passion, of a desire to reclaim what he had lost, to rise from the shadows of his brother Zeus. Now that he has his place among the gods, Poseidon finds himself confronting an unsettling question. What is his role in this new order? He has always been a god of action, of raw, untamed power. But the new world of Olympus demands more than just strength. It demands diplomacy, cooperation, and patience. Poseidon has never been good at patience. His emotions, as unpredictable as the tides he commands, have always defined him. Yet now, he must learn to temper that raw energy, to harness it in service of something greater than himself. As Poseidon stands beside Athena, there's a moment of quiet reflection in his eyes. For the first time, he understands the true cost of the rebellion. It wasn't just about overthrowing Zeus. It was about the gods learning to live with each other, to govern not as individuals, but as a collective. Poseidon's role in this new world is still being written. He may no longer be the god who rules alone, but his influence, his presence, is undeniable. The ocean's power cannot be ignored, and Poseidon, though humbled, knows that he will remain a central figure in the new Olympus. Hera, ever the master of subtlety, watches the other gods with a knowing smile. She has always understood the importance of alliances, of relationships. While the other gods struggle to adjust to the idea of equality, Hera has long known that power is not just about brute strength or wisdom, It's about knowing how to maneuver, how to play the long game. She has spent centuries weaving her influence throughout Olympus, and now, with Zeus gone, Hera sees the opportunity to solidify her place as a queen not of dominion, but of wisdom, patience, and control, unlike Poseidon, who is learning to temper his emotions. Hera has long mastered the art of restraint. She is the goddess who knows when to act and when to wait, when to manipulate, and when to let things unfold on their own. Hera has not abandoned her ambitions. She is still the queen of Olympus in many ways, but her reign is no longer built on the foundation of power and control. It is built on something subtler, on the quiet threads of influence she has spun over the eons. Hera understands that in this new world, her power lies in her ability to be a stabilizing force, to guide the gods when they falter, and to remind them that unity is more important than any individual god's ambition. But even Hera knows that the gods' unity is not something that can be taken for granted. The rebellion has shown them that they are stronger together, but it has also exposed the weaknesses in their individual characters. Each god must now confront their own pride, their own desires, and decide whether they are willing to set aside their personal ambitions for the good of Olympus. The gods are no longer united by fear or loyalty to Zeus. They are united by something far more fragile, an understanding that their survival depends on cooperation, on collaboration. The question now is whether they can hold to that understanding. When the pressure mounts, when old rivalries resurface and temptations rise, Zeus may be gone, but his shadow looms large over Olympus. The gods have defeated him, but they have not erased the divisions he created. They must now navigate the same pitfalls that led to his downfall, the dangers of pride, of ambition, of unchecked power. Athena, Poseidon, Hera, they are the leaders of this new world, but their leadership will be tested. And you, standing on the precipice of this new era, wonder what the future holds. Can the gods truly change? Can they forge a future where power is shared, where they are equals rather than rulers? Or will they, like Zeus before them, succumb to the temptation of control, of domination? The answer is uncertain, but one thing is clear: Olympus will never be the same. The rebellion has reshaped the gods and their world. Whether it will survive, the test of time is yet to be seen. The gods have been given a chance to build something new, but that chance is fragile. The future of Olympus lies in their hands, and only time will tell whether they can rise to the challenge. The future of Olympus rests on a knife's edge, balanced precariously between the gods' ideals of unity and the weight of their own desires. Each day that passes brings new challenges, as the gods confront not only external threats, but also their internal battles. The delicate framework they have built to replace Zeus's reign is fragile. One wrong move, one misplaced ambition, and it could all come crumbling down. For all their power, the gods are beginning to realize that governing as equals is not as simple as it first seemed. Athena, standing at the head of the council, feels the full weight of this realization more keenly than anyone. She has always been the voice of reason, the one who sees beyond the immediate and into the long-term consequences of every decision. But now, even her immense wisdom seems to falter under the pressure. The gods have fought for this new order, but can they truly make it last? The answer lies not just in their shared power, but in their ability to trust one another, to work together despite their flaws, despite the centuries of rivalry and mistrust that have defined their relationships. Athena knows that this is where the real work begins. She is the leader, the one who has united the gods in their rebellion, but now she must become something more: a peacemaker, a diplomat. The gods are not used to compromise. Each of them has ruled their own domain, often unchecked, for millennia. To ask them to lay down their pride and work together as equals is a monumental task. It is a task that Athena cannot accomplish alone. As she stands before the council, watching the gods who are now her equals, Athena feels a pang of doubt. She wonders whether this dream of unity, of cooperation, can truly be realized. The gods are not, after all, ordinary beings. They are forces of nature, each one representing an aspect of the world that demands power and respect. The sea, the sky, the earth, each god is tied to a force that cannot be controlled. How, then, can they be asked to work in harmony, to put aside their own desires for the greater good? Poseidon, ever the embodiment of raw power, has his own doubts. The sea calls to him, its waves crashing with a fury that matches his own. Poseidon has always been a god of action, of strength. He does not understand the subtlety of Athena's approach, nor does he have the patience for diplomacy. Poseidon has always preferred to act, to strike quickly, decisively. But now in this new Olympus, he finds himself out of place. The rebellion has given him a seat at the table, but the table is not one that was built for gods like him. Poseidon has never been a god of compromise. His instincts tell him that strength alone should be enough to rule, but he knows deep down that this is no longer the world that will accept that. For Poseidon, the rebellion was about reclaiming his power, his place among the gods. But now that power feels distant, not quite as satisfying as he imagined. He looks around the council and sees the other gods, each one struggling with their own doubts, their own desires. Athena may lead with wisdom, Hera with influence, but Poseidon is not sure where his place truly lies in this new order. He is a god of storms, and yet he finds himself caught in the calm. The winds he commands are not the same as the ones that swept him to victory. Poseidon realizes that the rebellion was just the beginning, and the true test lies ahead. How can he, a god of passion and fury, learn to live in a world that demands patience and restraint? Hera, for all her subtlety and manipulation, understands something that the others may not yet realize. She knows that true power lies not just in strength or wisdom, but in influence. Hera's ability to maneuver, to position herself as a central figure in this new order, has already begun to take shape. She has always been a goddess of relationships, of alliances, and she is already using those skills to solidify her place in this new world. Hera does not need to wield power openly. She understands that real control comes from behind the scenes, from knowing when to push and when to pull back. Hera watches Athena, Poseidon, and the other gods, knowing that they are all grappling with their own doubts, their own fears. She, too, feels the weight of their shared responsibility, but unlike the others, she has never feared the idea of power being shared. Hera's power has always been about control without direct rule. She understands that in this new Olympus, her role will not be one of dominance, but of influence. And that, she knows, is more powerful than any throne Zeus could have ever sat upon. But Hera is also keenly aware of the dangers that still lurk. The gods may have united for the rebellion, but their unity is still tenuous. The moment one god seeks to overpower the others, the fragile peace will break. Hera understands that it is her job, above all, to prevent that from happening. She must guide the gods, nudge them toward cooperation, and remind them constantly of what they have fought for. The rebellion is over, but the real work of rebuilding Olympus is just beginning. The gods must learn to trust one another, to collaborate in ways they never have before. And Zeus, watching from the sidelines, knows this truth as well. His time as the supreme ruler of Olympus is gone. He no longer commands the skies or holds sway over the gods. But there is still a part of him that wonders whether he could return to power, whether, in time, he could reclaim what he has lost. Zeus's pride, his belief in his own invincibility, is something that cannot be easily erased. But as he watches the new council of gods, he knows that this is no longer his world. The rebellion has given the gods a taste of freedom, and that taste is something they will not easily give up. For now, the gods must learn to rule together. They must face the challenge of creating a new world, one where no god is above another, where power is shared and balanced. The question is not whether Zeus will return, It's whether the gods will be able to hold on to the unity they have fought for. Can they overcome their personal desires, their old wounds, and build a future together? Or will the flaws that have always existed within Olympus rise once again, tearing apart the fragile peace they've created? Only time will tell. But for now, the gods are standing on the precipice of a new world, one that they will shape with their hands, their minds, and their hearts. The rebellion has ended, but their true test is just beginning. The calm that follows the storm is always the most deceptive. As the gods settle into their new roles, there's a quiet tension, a reminder that while the rebellion has ended, the true work of reshaping Olympus is just beginning. There is no fanfare, no grand coronation, only the weight of responsibility pressing down on their shoulders. The gods now stand united, but they are not the same beings they were before. The rebellion has changed them, not just in their power, but in their hearts. Athena, standing at the head of the council, feels the heavy mantle of leadership weigh on her more than ever. The gods look to her for guidance, but even she knows that their unity cannot be taken for granted. Every day presents a new challenge, balancing the ambitions of Poseidon, the subtle manipulations of Hera, the fiery passions that still burn in the hearts of so many of them. Athena has always prided herself on her wisdom, on her ability to see the path ahead. But now, as she surveys the landscape of Olympus, she realizes that the path is no longer as clear as it once seemed. The gods are learning, slowly but surely, that their power is not the same as before. There are no longer any singular rulers, no divine monarchs sitting alone on their thrones. The council is a body of equals, but that equality requires compromise, something the gods, with their centuries of independence, are not accustomed to. Athena can see it in the way the gods interact. Poseidon, brimming with the strength of his storm-tossed domain, still struggles with the idea that he is not the undisputed leader of Olympus. Hera, ever the queen, finds herself shifting between influence and action, uncertain of the balance between the two in this new order. And then there is Zeus, once the ruler of Olympus, the god of thunder, now a mere figure in the background, stripped of his crown and his dominance. There is no denying that his fall has left a mark on Olympus, a mark that will take time to erase. Zeus's pride is something that cannot be easily discarded, and as he watches the gods govern themselves, there's a part of him that wonders if he could return to his throne. His mind, once quick to strike with thunder, now moves in darker, quieter ways. Zeus has been dethroned, but he has not been vanquished. He is still a god, still a force of nature, and the gods around him know that his desire for power has not been quelled. He is waiting, biding his time, watching the new order for any cracks, any opportunities to regain what he has lost. Poseidon's power has been acknowledged, but that acknowledgement does not satisfy him. He has been given a seat at the table, but Poseidon is not used to waiting. The sea, his domain, has always been about movement, about control. He is the god of tides, of tempests, of relentless force. The calm of the new Olympus feels alien to him. Poseidon is at a crossroads. He has fought for his place in the new world, but he is unsure of his role now that it has been secured. Poseidon's challenge is not one of power, it is one of patience. Can he stand by, knowing that his time may come, and wait for the tides to shift in his favor again? Hera, as always, is thinking long-term. She is not one to rush. She is not one to act without thinking several moves ahead. Hera's power lies not in dominance, but in the ability to see the bigger picture. She knows that the new world of Olympus cannot exist without her influence. She is the queen, not because she demands the throne, but because she knows how to make others believe they need her. Hera's rebellion was not about overthrowing Zeus. It was about ensuring that the gods of Olympus could never again fall into the trap of blind allegiance to a single ruler. Hera wants more than power. She wants a legacy where she is remembered as the architect of the gods. True freedom, The gods are learning that their unity requires more than just cooperation, it requires trust. And trust, as they soon discover, is the most fragile of all bonds. The old rivalries, the wounds that were left by centuries of mistrust, have not healed simply because the gods have dethroned Zeus. They will need time, and time is something the gods have never had to face before. They are used to immortality, to the certainty that nothing can touch them. But now, as they stand united, they realize that the future of Olympus depends on their ability to work together, not as individual gods with separate agendas, but as a single cohesive force. The Council of Gods meets more frequently now, as each god struggles to come to terms with their new role. Athena continues to guide them, her wisdom providing a steady hand in uncertain times. Poseidon, though restless, remains loyal to the cause, his presence serving as a reminder that the gods must never forget the raw power that defines them. Hera, ever watchful, continues to shape the council's decisions from the shadows, her influence growing stronger as she builds alliances with those who may feel overlooked or marginalized. But the gods know that their unity is not guaranteed. They have faced great challenges in their rebellion, but the true test is yet to come. They must build a new world together, one where no god is above another, where each god's power is recognized and respected. The question remains, can they hold on to this unity, or will old habits, old ambitions tear them apart? Zeus watches from the sidelines, no longer the king, but still very much a god. His mind churns with the weight of the past and the possibilities of the future. The gods of Olympus may have won, but Zeus knows that the battle is far from over. His power is not gone, not yet. He watches and waits, knowing that in time, Olympus will once again be tested, and as you stand among them, watching the gods struggle to shape their new world, you realize that their journey is far from complete. They have made great strides, but the real challenge lies in the unknown future that awaits them. Olympus will change, but how it changes and whether it can hold on to the unity it has forged will depend on the choices the gods make in the days to come. The question that looms large over Olympus now is not whether the gods will remain united, whether they can build a future where the power of each god is truly balanced. And in this world of infinite possibility, anything can happen. The gods have made progress, but as each day passes, the weight of their responsibilities presses more heavily on their shoulders. The dawn of a new era in Olympus has arrived, yet the gods are still learning to navigate the delicate web they've woven together. The new Council of Gods is no longer a lofty idea. It's a living, breathing entity. But as time continues its relentless march, the gods begin to understand just how fragile their newfound unity truly is. Athena, as always, is the one who remains the most composed. She sees what others might miss, how the smallest of decisions can set off a cascade of reactions that could threaten everything they've worked for. Her wisdom, her strategic mind, has guided them this far, but Athena understands that leadership is not just about making the right choices. It's about maintaining the trust of those around you. She stands at the head of the council, watching the other gods carefully. She knows that their unity depends not just on their actions, but on their ability to trust each other, to act as a collective. But that trust is elusive. Athena can feel it in the air, the undercurrent of doubt that lingers just beneath the surface. Poseidon, for all his power and passion, is still restless. He is not used to this new world, where his influence is tempered by the council's decisions. Poseidon, the god of the sea, has always been used to moving freely, to acting with the force of the oceans behind him. But now he must learn to work within the confines of the new order. His power is no longer enough on its own. Poseidon is learning that he must share the stage with others, and that is something he has always struggled with. Hera, ever the tactician, watches the unfolding dynamics with a keen eye. While Athena leads with wisdom and Poseidon with power, Hera understands the subtle art of manipulation. Her strength lies not in her ability to command, but in her ability to influence, to navigate the shifting tides of power within Olympus. Hera has spent centuries building alliances and cultivating influence, and she knows that her role in this new world will be one of quiet, behind-the-scenes control. Hera understands the value of patience. She knows that in time, her influence will only grow, especially as the gods face new challenges. But there is one thing that none of the gods can escape: their past. The scars left by Zeus's reign are still fresh, and the old rivalries are not easily forgotten. Athena, Poseidon, Hera, they may have fought side by side, but the gods know that their unity is fragile. They have agreed to work together, but in the back of their minds, they know that there will be moments when their personal desires and ambitions will clash. The gods are not accustomed to sharing power, and as the days go on, they will be forced to confront their own flaws, their own desires, and the balance that they must strike to keep Olympus from falling apart. Zeus's absence still hangs over Olympus like a cloud. His thunder may no longer crack through the sky, but his legacy remains. He may no longer rule, but he has not been forgotten. The gods who once feared him now find themselves wondering what the future holds and whether they can maintain the new order they've created. The question remains: how will they navigate the delicate balance of power? Will they continue to work together, or will the old temptations rise again? Will they be able to live without the figure of Zeus, the god who once held them all together by the sheer force of his authority? Poseidon, ever the fiery one, knows that this balance is not as easy to maintain as it seems. He's the god of the seas, and the sea is never still. It moves, it shifts, it rages. Poseidon's own nature is a reflection of the ocean itself, wild, unpredictable, and powerful. Can he, the god who once ruled alone, learn to accept a world where his power is shared? Poseidon's internal struggle is one that many of the gods face, though they may not show it. The question of whether they can live without absolute control lingers in their minds, each one wondering if they too might be tempted to seize the throne again, to reclaim their place at the top. Hera, always the observer, has seen this struggle in the other gods, and she knows that she cannot let it fester. The gods, as strong as they are not immune to the allure of power. They must be reminded again and again of the cost of their rebellion, of what they fought for. Hera's role in this new world is not just to guide the gods, but to ensure that their unity remains intact. She knows that the temptation to revert to the old ways is strong, but she also knows that if the gods give in to that temptation, they risk destroying everything they've built. Hera understands better than anyone the price of power. She has seen what it can do to the gods, what it did to Zeus, and she will not let the same mistakes be made again. Athena, Poseidon, Hera, each of them is learning, growing, evolving as leaders in this new world, but their work is far from done. The gods have established a new order, but now they must prove that it can endure. The challenges they face are not just external, they are internal. The gods must confront their own weaknesses, their own desires, and learn to navigate the complexities of this new world. They must work together, not as rulers, but as equals. They must learn to live without the specter of Zeus looming over them, and build a future where power is shared, where trust is earned, and where the gods of Olympus no longer seek to rule over each other, but to stand together. As the days pass, Olympus begins to feel like a different place. The thunder that once rattled the heavens has been replaced by the steady rhythm of the gods working together. But this peace is fragile. The gods must still prove themselves. They must prove that they are capable of ruling not as individual monarchs, but as a collective force. The future of Olympus rests in their hands, and only time will tell whether they can make this new order work. Time passes, but the weight of what the gods have created lingers in the air like a persistent storm cloud, ever present, ever threatening. The gods may have brought about the fall of Zeus, and established a new order in Olympus. But the challenges they face now are far different from those they encountered in the rebellion. The gods have not just defeated a tyrant. They have altered the very nature of their existence. They must now live with the consequences of their choices, and the cost is far greater than they anticipated. Athena, ever the vigilant leader, watches the gods as they try to navigate the delicate balance of their newfound unity. She has always been the one to strategize, to find solutions to problems before they even arise. But now, Athena finds herself wrestling with a deeper question. Can she, in her wisdom, keep this new world from fracturing? The gods have learned to share power, but their old ways are not easily erased. Athena knows that the real work is only beginning. They are no longer ruled by a single god, but they are still gods, still beings whose power and pride cannot be easily tempered. Poseidon, standing at the edge of the council, feels the weight of this challenge in ways Athena cannot fully understand. The sea, his domain, is an ever-changing force of vast, unpredictable stretch of water that can either nurture life or destroy it with a single wave. Poseidon's role in this new Olympus is far more complex than he anticipated. He has always been a god of action, a god who strikes first and thinks later. Now he must learn to be part of a council, to temper his own impulses with patience and diplomacy. Poseidon's nature, wild and untamed, clashes with the need for unity, and he knows that his struggles are far from over. Hera, meanwhile, watches from the shadows as always, her mind spinning with possibilities. She has never been one for open conflict. Her power has always come from her ability to manipulate, to weave webs of influence behind the scenes. Hera knows that her place in this new world is secure, not because she is the loudest, the strongest, or the most forceful, but because she has the subtlety and intelligence to navigate the complexities of power. Hera understands that to maintain the fragile peace they have created, she must be the one to ensure that no god forgets the lessons of the rebellion. The temptation to return to the old ways will always be there, but Hera will be the one to remind them of the cost of losing their unity. And then there is Zeus, the once mighty king of Olympus, now relegated to the sidelines, still watches over the gods with a quiet, smoldering anger. Zeus may no longer hold the thunderbolt, but his presence lingers. His pride, once his greatest strength, is now his greatest weakness. Zeus is no longer the ruler of Olympus, but his desire for power has not been quelled. He may be quiet for now, but the storm inside him has not disappeared. The gods understand this better than anyone, and they know that Zeus, given the right opportunity, could once again rise to power. The question is not whether he will try, it is when he will try. The gods, even in their newfound unity, are not immune to the struggle for control. They are no longer fighting for the throne. They are fighting for something more intangible, something more difficult to grasp: trust. In a world where each god once ruled alone, where every move was made in isolation, can they now learn to share not just power, but responsibility? The future of Olympus depends not just on their ability to work together, but on their ability to trust one another. This is the real challenge. Without trust, without cooperation, even the strongest alliance will fall apart. As the days pass, Athena continues to lead with grace, but the burden of leadership weighs heavier with every decision. Poseidon, for all his strength, still struggles with the idea of collaboration. He's a god of storms after all, and storms cannot be tamed. Hera, ever patient, works behind the scenes to ensure that no god forgets the lessons they've learned. But even she knows that time is a fickle thing. The gods may have united against Zeus, but what happens when they no longer have a common enemy to rally against? What happens when the only thing standing between Olympus's unity and its destruction is their own egos? The gods, in their quiet moments, begin to question whether the peace they have fought for is truly sustainable. The rebellion was a victory, but it was also a reckoning. The gods must now learn to live with one another, not as rivals, but as partners. Each god must confront their own pride, their own desires, and figure out how to balance those with the needs of Olympus as a whole. The question is no longer about who rules, it's about how they will rule. Can they create a lasting peace? Or will the old rivalries, the old ambitions, tear them apart once again? As you stand among the gods, you sense the weight of this question. Olympus is a place of power, a place where the forces of nature themselves are embodied in divine beings. But it is also a place of fragility, a place where even the smallest fracture in the gods' unity could bring everything crashing down. The gods have won their rebellion, but now they must face the ultimate test. Can they build a world together, one that is stronger than the divisions that once threatened to tear them apart? The answer lies not in their power, but in their ability to work together, something that no god, not even the mighty Zeus, has ever fully achieved. It is this, the lesson of collaboration, of unity, that will determine the future of Olympus. The gods may have won their victory, but the real battle, the battle for the soul of Olympus, is just beginning. The gods of Olympus stand at a crossroads, unsure whether the unity they have forged will survive the trials ahead. The rebellion may be over, but the hard work of reconstruction has only just begun. The gods, once divided by their own pride and ambitions, have learned that their power is no longer something to hoard, it is something to be shared. But the true test of this new world will not be in their strength or wisdom. It will be in their ability to trust one another. Athena, the architect of the rebellion, feels the weight of this realization every time she speaks. She has always been the one to lead with logic, with reason, but now, in the quiet moments between council meetings, she begins to question whether logic alone will be enough to hold Olympus together. The gods are not just beings of intellect and power. They are beings of passion, of history, and of deeply rooted desires. Their pasts, their grudges, and their egos cannot be erased by a simple shift in power. Athena knows this, and it keeps her awake at night. She wonders, despite all the victories, whether the gods can truly leave behind the patterns of behavior that have defined them for millennia. Poseidon is still grappling with the new reality. The god of the sea, once the fiery force of nature who stood apart from the others, now finds himself in the unfamiliar position of compromise. Poseidon has always been a god of action, and this new order demands something far more complex than just action. It demands patience. Poseidon has spent eons being the god who moves the waters, who shapes the tides, but now, in this council of gods, he must learn to listen, to be part of a larger vision. The restlessness he feels is not just about power, it's about identity. Poseidon has spent so long being defined by his domain, by his control over the seas, that now, when asked to share the stage with others, he finds himself struggling with who he is without that singular focus. His temper, once a defining trait, has tempered somewhat since the rebellion's end, but it is still a force that cannot be fully contained. Poseidon may have accepted his place at the table, but he does so reluctantly. Each day, as he watches the other gods debate and discuss the future of Olympus, he feels the sea calling to him, urging him to act, to strike quickly, decisively. He knows that his role is no longer just about ruling. It is about finding balance. And balance, as Poseidon realizes, is not something that comes naturally to a god who has lived his life in the midst of turmoil. Hera, on the other hand, has taken her place in the new order with quiet confidence. The queen of Olympus, whose influence was always rooted in subtlety, is now a key player in the balance of power. She does not seek the throne, nor does she yearn for the kind of dominance that Zeus once wielded. Hera's strength lies in her ability to navigate the delicate dance of politics, of knowing when to speak and when to listen. She has always understood the value of alliances, of weaving a network of support that operates just beneath the surface. In this new world of Olympus, Hera's influence has only grown. She knows how to pull the strings, to nudge the gods toward decisions that align with her vision. But despite her outward confidence, Hera knows that even she cannot control everything. The gods must come together, not because they are forced to, but because they see the need for it. Zeus, though a diminished figure, remains a presence in Olympus. His days of ruling with an iron fist are over, but his legacy looms large. The gods know that they cannot forget what Zeus represented, not just as a god, but as a symbol of the dangers of unchecked power. Zeus has been dethroned, but his ambition is far from extinguished. He watches the new council with a quiet bitterness, wondering if there will ever come a time when the gods will truly respect him again. For now he is an observer, a god without a throne, but his mind remains as sharp as ever. Zeus may not be the ruler of Olympus, but his pride and his hunger for power have not been quelled. The gods know that if they are not careful, they risk repeating the mistakes of the past. As the gods continue to work together, there's a growing sense of uncertainty. They have built something new, but it is still fragile. The rebellion was a victory, but the future is still uncertain. Athena's wisdom, Poseidon's strength, and Hera's subtlety may have brought them this far, but the real challenge lies in maintaining the peace. Can they hold to their shared vision, or will old habits, old ambitions, threaten to tear them apart? Can the gods truly trust one another, or will they fall into the same patterns of division that have plagued Olympus for centuries? Athena knows that the new order is fragile. It is not enough to simply overthrow Zeus. They must build something sustainable, something that can endure the passage of time. This new world of Olympus is not a perfect one, but it is one built on the promise of shared power and collective responsibility. And while the gods have made progress, they still have much to learn about cooperation, about unity, and about what it truly means to govern as equals. Poseidon's restless nature, Hera's manipulations, Zeus's lingering presence, each of these challenges must be addressed, not through force or manipulation, but through understanding. The gods must learn to work together, not just for the sake of their individual domains, but for the future of Olympus itself. They are no longer bound by the will of a single ruler. They are now bound by their own choices, their own ability to trust each other. And that, perhaps, is the greatest challenge of all. As the Council of Gods meets, you can feel the weight of the decisions they make. Every choice they make is not just about the future of Olympus, it is about the future of the gods themselves. They have fought for this new world, but now they must prove that they can sustain it. The real test, as Athena knows, is not in their power, but in their willingness to change, to adapt, and to build something that will last. The gods of Olympus have been given a chance to rewrite the rules, to shape a new world. The question now is, will they succeed, or will the old ways resurface, threatening to undo everything they have worked for? Only time will tell. As the gods continue to deliberate, the weight of the decisions they face becomes more apparent. The world they are shaping is not one of grand battles or divine struggles. It is a world where the smallest choice carries the potential to change everything. Each god must confront their own nature, their desires, their insecurities, and decide whether they will work together or tear apart the fragile piece they've built. Athena, Poseidon, Hera, they are not just figures of power. They are reflections of the divine struggle that has always existed within Olympus. Power, wisdom, pride. Each of these gods embodies a force that cannot be tamed, but must be learned to coexist with the others. In this new Olympus, no one god can stand above the rest. It is a shared experience, one that demands patience, understanding, and the willingness to give as much as they take. In the silence of the council room, as the gods exchange words and ideas, you can feel the weight of history in the air. The gods have been here before, struggling with the same temptations, the same flaws. The question is not whether they can be great again, but whether they can learn to rule, not as kings and queens, but as equals. The rebellion has ended, but the true challenge begins now. The gods must navigate a new Olympus, one built on trust, on unity, and on the understanding that they are not defined by their individual power, but by their collective will. It will not be easy. They will falter, they will struggle, and they will doubt. But in the end, it is their choices, both the ones they make now and those that lie ahead, that will shape the future of Olympus. As the gods begin to settle into their new roles, one thing is certain: Olympus will never be the same. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into today's journey together.